Okay, John Wertz here, Montgomery County Tea Party. It is December 3rd at 2 p.m. and we are here with Brittany Gable Hale, and she's running for Justice of Peace 3. With me are Lana Horde, Bob Bagley, and Larry Rogers. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Thank you for coming. Thanks for filling out our questionnaire.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And we know that takes a lot of time to do. As we discuss, if you want to take up to 5 minutes in your opening,
Okay.
and then we'll go around the table with Q&A, and then we'll finish up about up to 5 minute closing. So the floor is yours.
All right. Well, again, thanks for seeing me. Thank you for taking the time to sit down. I know when I first decided to run, I one of the first things I was talking to Ryan about, I go, I've got to be on that ballot. You know, I'm going to be on the Republican Tea Party ballot. So anyways, so I feel like this is a big deal for me to be here. But anyways, so as you know, or have read, I was a former teacher for about 10 years prior to teaching. I got a degree in microbiology and then went and worked in the corporate world for a subsea drilling company for about a year, and then went into teaching for the next 10 years and loved every bit of it. I did, you know, from parent programs to lots of other things. So it was fifth grade math for the most part. But from there, when I had my son, I've been home for the last 4.5 years. And I was already thinking I'll be starting kindergarten soon. And I was thinking, not recently, but even a year ago, that it's time for me to get back out there. And as far as this position goes, about 14 years ago, when Brian first decided he was going to run for constable, we were talking about, and when he was elected, we were talking about the Justice of the Peace position. And we had talked about, that was something that I was like, well, you know what? I think that might be something that I want to do, that I would run for. But at that time, you know, Matt Beasley was elected, and I was in my early 20s and didn't have, I feel like, you know, started teaching, and so it wasn't the time for me. When I had heard that Matt Beasley was stepping down at the end of last year, I was like, okay, this is it. This gives me my chance. And I was kind of hoping that it would go to maybe a real quick runoff or election for that spot to finish out his term, but it didn't. So that was disappointing. Anyways, but I feel like this has kind of given me the opportunity to do my research, and sorry if I keep doing that, you know, do my homework, learn what I need to know. And I'm not going to learn everything in that time frame, but it's a start, and it's given me the opportunities to go and sit down with other JPs in their courtrooms and talk with people that know a lot more than I do. Anyways, as far as me wanting this position, again, like I said, it's something that I have considered for a long time. And, you know, I've prayed about it. My son will be in kindergarten this following year. And anyways, I've grew up in a law enforcement family. My dad, 40 years. And so I believe that, you know, it's important to uphold the law. I feel like my position will help back law enforcement, carry out their, you know, civil process side of things. So, you know, I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited. It's a you know, big undertaking, but I'm looking forward to it. So,
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
The so on, one of the first questions is, why are you sick of this bench? And what 3 primary goals do you plan to accomplish if you're elected?
Mm.
And you said the top 3 are implement meaningful program for juveniles. Second one is clear the backlog of cases. Third being restore accessibility and morale within the court. Let's go back to number 2, clear the backlog of cases. Is there a backlog now? And how soon do you think you could clear that out if there is?
Yes, there is a backlog. Honestly, I do not know. I know it is a large number of cases. However, I don't have a accurate, precise number to give you guys. However, I have heard certain things that the particular sitting judge wants to go ahead and just dismiss a lot of cases, just so that it can be closed. They can say that they are closed cases and that he's done that. And so I, I'm hoping that, not hoping, I will work as efficiently as I can. As far as I know, there are certain things that, the first step in the process of in justice court, they have kind of taken away some of the, as far as check-in processes and things that keep log of who's coming into the courtroom, what cases are being seen, things like that. And so instead of it, I mean, that kind of opens a lot of doors in, yes, having to input lots of things when it could have already been done prior to. And so it's adding those extra steps. It's also, I feel like, security purposes, as far as when, an individual comes into the courtroom, prior to them coming in, they would have some sort of background knowledge on those particular individuals, whether, maybe they've had a record or anything like that. Whereas it's kind of, they're bypassing that to quickly get through. And I see an issue with that. But my goal is to do the best that I can. And
okay, thank you.
Microbiology from the University of Oklahoma.
yes.
Give us a little background on what microbiology is and why you chose OU. I have a granddaughter that just graduated from OU.
It's great school. And congratulations, that's exciting. Another sooner. So I, like I said, I grew up in Montgomery County for a long time. And I, at the time, thought, well, I don't want to quite go with my high school to surrounding schools. I was admitted to everywhere, Baylor and UT and A&M, and had scholarships to go to those schools as well. I had scholarships to go to, Illinois and Iowa. And I didn't want to stay too close to home. I felt like, okay, I got to spread my wings and, I don't know, just get out of here for a minute. Well, when we started visiting schools, my parents, okay, well, we're going to be flying you home. We'll consider Christmas. But yep, you're on your own. And I was like, oh, okay. And I still remember my parents looking at me, and that changed. I'm thinking, okay. And at the time, I was on the pre-medical route, and so I went microbiology. And okay, well, my dad was one that actually suggested Oklahoma, and they had a great pre-med program, and so we went to visit it. And I was kind of reluctant, but it's close enough. I could, drive home. But I fell in love with it. I felt like, okay, this is where I am supposed to be. I felt at home. and I loved every bit of it. And so I felt like it was just Oklahoma's kind of a slower pace, a smaller town feel, even compared to Montgomery County. But anyways, and microbiology is the study of microorganisms, bacteria and your fungi and yes.
And you said you were teaching for 10 years. What in
Yes, sir.
Conroe Independent School District?
I was not. I actually taught in Magnolia.
Magnolia.
What grade level?
5th grade.
Fifth?
Yep. Yes. I went back and I actually taught at my old elementary school with one of my old uh, fifth grade teachers who I loved. And yeah, so much for me getting out of here. I was like, no. He kind of laughed and said, "Nope, you're sticking around." But it was the best. It was the best experience. Oh yes, and I still remember when I sat down with those ladies and then my 5th grade teacher says, "Well, you can't call me Mrs. Krakowski anymore. It's gotta call me Mary Ann." I'm like, it's weird, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll just call you Krakowski. But yeah.
All right, Bob, what you got?
This is a runoff of another question. How many days off per year is reasonable for a judge to learn or teach or network with other county officials? And the answer was good. But I just want to know, how many days a week do you plan to have the office open?
Oh, I plan to have it open regularly. I mean, so let's just say in all my 10 years of teaching, I rarely took days off. I had so much time built up that I was able to take my full 12 months of maternity leave paid. So it, and I took every bit of it. And thankfully I had that. But I can say I rarely missed. I was always doing my job and in the classroom. And I have the same mindset for here as well. I think it's the people's courtroom. You see everyday people, you see working people. And, I think you need to be reachable and accessible. I remember having to try to make certain appointments that were at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock when I was teaching, even when we would get out at 3:30. And it just, so I think that, as far as training and learning and teaching, absolutely, I think that's important. However, I don't want it to set me back or come at the cost of the court and how I can do my job. So I need to learn more, absolutely. And I can't do that without training and knowledge. And, I want to learn best practices. But I would like to come outside of sitting on the bench too.
So some of the courts in the county work a 4-day week, and they're closed on Fridays because they're working 10-hour days. Have you given any thought to that to go along with that? And the other thing is the two-part, because you brought up about working and having appointments at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever. Are you open to having a night court for those times where others can't make regular hours? And if so, how would you adjust your work week to be able to do that?
Absolutely. So I believe I had put more flexible docket times to accommodate working families and things like that. I would absolutely do night dockets. I think it's important, again, for working people. It's hard. In justice court, JP court, you're seeing people like us that might come in. You're also seeing juveniles that are coming in for truancy and their families. And I think, well, if you call them into the courtroom at 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, they're missing school. You're pulling them out. You're pulling their families away from what they need to be doing. And it's kind of counterproductive to take them away from school when they're already missing it or not there. I also feel like, I had mentioned kind of trying to implement some programs because I feel like when juveniles come in, a lot of the times, the people that know them probably best is either the parents or the administration, their school teachers, things like that. And there's no way you're going to pull all those people away to court for this one particular child. And so I think it's important to consider those things. Would other, people that know that child, would teachers be willing to step in and provide information if it was outside timeframes? So those are kind of the things that I'm thinking about. And so absolutely, to answer your question, a long roundabout way, yes, I would be very willing to hold night dockets.
Okay,
I think it's important.
Great. One of our questions was about how active are you in conservative and grassroots groups, which ones and in what capacity? You named a number that you attend regularly or that you've become a member or plan to become a member of. Can you kind of recap that and let people know where you stand? And this is,
Sure.
You're not just now getting involved. You've been in some of this stuff for a minute.
Yes, and I would say I definitely not in the capacity that I am right now. I would say, I didn't realize the depth of this. I mean, I feel like I knew that these organizations were readily available or whatever it may be. I would have been a part of them a lot longer. And, I saw a lot of when Ryan was campaigning, I helped him out at Block Walk, did all those kinds of things, but had no idea that he was still having to go out to, weekly meetings and evenings and luncheons and that side of networking outside of people that are voting for you on that personal level, but also doing this side of things has been eye-opening. I just didn't really expect that because I feel like I am a very genuine person and not that I'm changing who I am by any means, but it's just a different lifestyle, Anyways, I have been going to Montgomery County Republican Women's, the Woodlands Republican Women's. I plan to join Woodlands Republican Women just because they're specific to the precinct that I'm in. But it's been fun and enjoyable to meet people that are so supportive of me and of others and women in general. And I've now come to you guys, the Tea Party. Like I said back when, I remember forever I've gone off the sample ballots, and sometimes without, unfortunately, doing the research that I needed, because I trusted, Ryan was on y'all's ballot, and there were some others that I knew about that, well, yes, they must believe the same things that I do, right? And so, yep, that answers your question.
So Bob had touched on this a little bit about the length of the courts during the week. Some of them are only 4 days. And this would be the third part of your goals, restore accessibility and morale within the court. Do you know what the hours are of the JP3 court now? And what would you implement? Is that causing the backlog? If there is in fact a delay, or is he working 5 days a week, 7 to 7, or what is he doing now, and what would you do different?
Well, to be specific, would you mind? I've got a calendar of dockets that. Would you mind if I just pulled that out?
Oh,
I
no,
know
go ahead.
just off. So this month, though, just off the top of my head, it's he's in session from about 9 to 11 for maybe evictions on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then sometimes, and then I guess kind of from maybe noon to about 3, or I guess whenever those would get through. I believe for a lot of the pretrial hearings and things like that, he's not sitting on the bench. He's not there, and so it's very limited from what I have witnessed or seen, and seen as far as the schedule look. But then I don't know what I don't know if that
So is
just
that
to
from 12
be
to
accurate.
3 on just on Mondays and Wednesdays he's not there, or all the week?
So Monday and Wednesday of this week, it was 9 o'clock was debt claims, 9:30 small claims, and then 1 o'clock admin hearing, and then 1:30 small claims. So then nothing scheduled for Tuesdays or Thursdays. There is on Wednesdays. He's got, again, same time frames, 9 o'clock, 9:30, and similar things: evictions, debt claims, small claims. And so this is just there's one. So it looks like just kind of one Monday on this particular calendar. There's a couple Tuesdays, and then a couple Wednesdays. I don't know. I'm more than welcome to
So you said
see,
Monday and
but
Wednesday, 1 o'clock at admin, 1:30 was that?
So it
Small claim.
fluctuates. Yes. So, and then today it was 9 o'clock and 9:30 evictions, 10:30 debt claims, and 1 o'clock small claims. As far as next week, Monday and Tuesday, there are jury trials or pretrials for assaults in adults, and I don't believe he is sitting on the bench. He is not in, and that seems to be the case. I know, of course, there's Christmas, and there's that accounts for a whole week of the office being closed. But it seems to be just over the past, looking at what cases they are trying or hearing, I guess I should say, it's kind of 2 days a week, from about 9 to 2, or 9 to 3.
6 hours, 2 days a week.
Yeah. What?
Room for improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I fully intend to be there as much as I possibly can. I mean, that's my job. Hopefully, God willing. And if the people vote me in, so.
Alrighty.
So
Larry?
what What kept you from wanting to be in law enforcement?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, the honest answer in the beginning, going through boot camp and the academy, and having to go through the tasing. um, but the tasing and there was times where I was like, okay, well, I can do that, but then I don't. So no, but I think growing up, you know, our dad was he's a Vietnam veteran too, so that, but I think law enforcement has changed, him and Ryan, and they've seen a lot of things that are, unfortunate, and I mean, it's a shame what they deal with on a daily basis, and I think I would hear that. I grew up with that and hearing the stories and how he would come home, and just hardened you. It hardened him, he was, and I think, he was very strict, and he was very, but we were raised to do the right thing, to, doesn't matter, you just do it on time. And so I don't know. I just I didn't want to, and now I'm glad I didn't. Unfortunately, it's definitely changed. I'm glad my dad's retired and he's in the position that he's in. So
with that thought, you're gonna have to go to sites where people are deceased. And some of it's gonna be really uncomfortable. It's, could be accidents, it could be suicides, children involved. How are you gonna feel about that based on what you just said?
it would be tough. I think it would be tough for, anyone that has heart. But I've seen my fair share, just even being a school teacher. I have seen a child that has had her whole teeth, front teeth, knocked out, and parents didn't want to take her to the dentist because they couldn't afford it. Or I've had, in that same particular child, I caught her, ended up realizing she was having a seizure. And at that point in fifth grade, you're 10 and 11. And so she got to fifth grade, and I, thank God, I was the one that caught it. And no one, and her history, no one ever knew. Her parents did, but chose not to get her any sort of medical care. I've for a year, I packed a little girl's lunch every day, and she had knotted hair. I've seen it. I have seen kids can't even control their itching because they've had scabies, and they're just sent to school. Or I've seen a lot, just in that regard. So to say it, thankfully they've taken the some of that off the JP's caseload.
What have they taken off? Because
responding to death calls.
Because of the
Pronouncing, I guess, people dead.
Because we have the new
medical or
Medical director.
not our medical director, not MCHDs, but for the county. Yeah.
So they do that instead of the JP now.
Evidently, which is a whole lot better. considering some of our past experiences.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on term limits?
I think that's fine. You know, as far as
So
Yes.
when you're elected, how many terms are you going to serve?
as many times as the people will keep me there.
So you don't believe in term limits then?
Well, okay, I see where you're going with that. You know, that's a hard question because of course when you have someone in office and not everyone agrees with us, that you do really like, I hope that they could stay there for a long time. But I think as long as you have a fair election, it's still up to the people to elect their candidates. You know, I think that as far as it's hard because if people are doing a good job and they're doing what they're supposed to in the position that they got elected to, I think it's great that there's no limits.
So
No,
you're
it's
okay with
tough.
President Trump staying in office until he turns 90?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, you want to have the argument here.
Right,
I mean, still might be moving faster than me
Yeah.
at 90,
right,
you know, but
yeah.
Well, when you're 90, he's going to be a lot older than that.
that's
I
okay.
hope I'm that good at
Or-
90. I hope I'm
or-
that
I think
agile.
hopefully he'll put somebody else good.
Yeah.
in his-
I have to say something about that. I'm 87 years old.
There you go.
And they love to kind of just
Mhm.
put a knife in every chance they got.
Oh,
It wasn't
I would have
against
never,
you.
I know it. I would have never
Slow.
guessed.
Slow entry.
Oh,
knife.
oh yeah. And it's
You
just,
won't even feel it.
Oh my goodness. Well, Brittany, I saw you had an answer here on one of these questions, and I liked how you developed it. We asked about your view of recidivism, which
Mhm.
is people coming back with the same crimes over and over again and not
Sure.
learning anything from their
Mhm.
mistakes, and how it affects the sentences you would give. And I like what you did there about talking about how you're going to approach it from the smaller issues and address it at the root level. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So one particular idea or thing that I had mentioned, and there's several others. One being juveniles. You know, I think they tend to be a lot of those kids. That repeats every year. You have the same kid coming up, and oh yeah, I don't want that kid in my classroom. Or oh man, I got this. All right, here we go. And I think it's important to try to do what you can to intervene in a sense, or because a lot of times it just takes one person to help. And so I think if, you know, of course, if kids are younger, they're not the ones that aren't getting to school, right? It's the parents that aren't getting them there. But as far as the older ones, it's on them. And I feel like, again, if we can target maybe some of the schools that are really having, you know, issues with truancy or delinquents, I think, or that have a high number of those, if we can kind of be proactive and see, okay, well, what maybe we can work with the school, or is there a program that I can do within the courtroom to facilitate them getting to school? How can we help? What's going on? Or to see, you know, that yes, this is a problem that you're here and it made it to the courtroom. But what can we do so you're not? And I think that if it's just if there's nothing to help, then you will see them back again. And there, I mean, you're going to have the cases, instances in certain cases that they will be back, but hopefully we can minimize them. So.
Okay. Eventually we're going to address the elephant in the room. And that's your brother, not your father, who is the constable, right?
Correct. Yes, it was.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known Ryan for a pretty good while. So I'm sure it's come up, or probably will come up, that certainly there's, obviously our related brother, sister,
Sure.
and he would be the constable, and he may send people through your court. And how do you get away from the appearance of any kind of favoritism towards him for somebody that he might arrest, if that makes sense?
Well, I don't. So I feel like, Ryan my brother, he knows that I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do what I need to. At this point in time, no one else knows that. They don't know me. They don't know my work ethic. They don't know I haven't been able to prove anything in that position because I haven't been a JP, haven't been elected to the position. So I'm ready to be able to prove myself. I'm ready to show what I can do. I'm ready to get in there and work. As far as showing favoritism to my brother, I won't. But to prove it to other people, right now I feel like it's my word, until I can show that that's not going to be the case. And it just so happens that we would be in the same building, that we would, and I think, though, if it really weren't for Ryan, I wouldn't have considered this position years ago. I'd probably, still be teaching or go back to teaching, not have another, goal. And that was just through just a everyday conversation with him. And so I think he is well aware that I will make decisions, and absolutely they may affect him, but I'm going to go by the book as much as I am allowed. And I think there's this.
Okay. Right.
A lot of people don't understand the difference in a justice of the peace or a court judge or whatever. Could you give us an overview of really what does a justice of the peace? Is it a criminal cases that you handle and civil cases? What all do you handle as a justice of the peace?
Sure. So a JP, and historically speaking, they were JP court's always been a people's court, and so they wanted a judge to be someone very like the people. That's why they have kept not having a law degree, as long as your population is under 1 million, which is still a lot of people. But I think as far as legal jargon and things like that, you have a lot of people that come into the JP courtroom very nervous, or they're presenting their own side of things. Typically, they don't have attorneys. There are cases, but they're representing themselves, and they have no background. of the legal system. Well, most don't, and the knowledge there. So I think it's important that they have somebody that's relatable, can easily speak to, or don't feel quite as intimidated. Doesn't mean that opens up to be lenient, but I think that's important. It's been that way for a long time. I'm sorry, I feel like I probably kind of went away from your question on that sense, but a JP also deals with evictions. They deal with a lot of civil process, small claims up to 20,000. That's changed. It used to be 10,000, and so that's gone up. They do debt claims, truancy cases. They deal with animal issues, things like that. Delinquency. They do a fair share of criminal cases, but they are kind of your least small cases, misdemeanors, things like that. So
So one of the questions, you answered it pretty well, but describe the best way for average voter to determine which judicial candidate is best. And you just brought up, the voters should look at reputation, experience, service, willingness to learn, work ethic, and committed to conservative principles. But where do they get this information? Because you just stated that most people don't know you,
I know.
except for your brother. So
Absolutely.
And if they're trying, they're going to
Mhm.
try to vote for you. How do they find this information?
I get out there. I start knocking on doors and
Are you doing that?
meeting as many people. I've started, and then we plan to go out in force, and first weekend of January. Hopefully it's not too cold. I'm just kidding. But no, and I remember, I feel like, I know, but that's okay. Just recently when I was putting up some of my larger signs, and, I'm meeting people that way, and just on that level is what's important to me. And I feel like it shows a different side of me in a sense. It's more authentic, kind of, because I'm maybe not as nervous or feeling like I'm out of my realm. And so I'm excited for that. I'm ready to do that. I've started I've started a little bit here and there. We've put my lists together for targeted areas and things like that. So just
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. So I read a couple of your answers and saw a common theme in them, in the sense that it seems you have thought through some of these ideas about what you can do about juvenile delinquency and the types of things you can do to reform how we're responding to that. You talked about setting some best practices and coming up with some practical ideas for how we can avoid these patterns repeating. Can you elaborate a little bit on like some of the ideas you've come up with, some things that you've checked into, talked to other JPs about that might work, that might be an improvement to this district?
So one of those ideas, like I said, to kind of look into certain numbers that have a higher number of truant students, or or it's an issue where you're seeing maybe a lot of kids from the same high school, essentially going to the high school and saying, okay, well, what can I do on my end, or what can we do? Because I know that schools, they have thought about what can they do to keep attendance high. What can we do to get students to school. And so as far as either having some sort of program where there's mentors to kind of check in with certain students, or is there a reason, can I help you get to school? And of course, there might be a lot of liability things there. There's a lot of moving parts that would go into that, absolutely. And it would definitely have to be, it's just the start of an idea and a plan. I know like I said, to pull students out and away from, school class, to come to a court hearing, you're pulling them away from what they're at court,
Yeah.
for. And I don't know what if there was a time frame where could I go to the school and try the cases there, and handle it that way instead of bringing everyone to the courtroom. And that way if you're at the school, I don't know. And again, that kind of goes both ways too, because there are some instances where you might want the kid to have to show up and you mean business and this is a serious matter. So it depends. I feel like it depends on the situation. It depends on the child. And I think it's important to delve into all those different kind of aspects on what would work best. And I also know that they used to have a kind of a youth mock court, per se. And I don't know a whole lot about what was done then. I know that it is not happening anymore. I don't know how beneficial it was. I don't know if it was changing any numbers as far as that. That I do not know, but that is something to, again, look into and see if that's beneficial or not, or what can we do differently.
Okay. All right, we're at that point. If you want to take up the 5 minutes closing, floor is yours again.
Oh man. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm ready to be able to prove myself, to show what I am capable of as far as this position goes. And I would definitely like you to consider my qualifications. I know there's no legal background there, but I've got a lot more than that experience. And I hope that, I have a heart of service. I have a heart for service, but I'm hoping to run the courtroom for the people. And I definitely believe in, again, I was raised with, growing up with law enforcement. And I think it's important because to maintain that and maintain law and order. And I want to kind of keep Montgomery County what it's always been. I think it's growing so much. And I'm worried about, with the growth, it changing and bringing in a lot of people that don't have a good moral compass and true values. And I think this I feel like is just a small part of what I can do to keep our county and our precinct what it should be. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You have a
All right.
website?
I do, yes. I'm sorry. It is vote, I don't. This is terrible. I should know it, huh? It's I don't even know.
That's all right.
I know my email. Oh goodness, this looks terrible. Um, it's vote Brittany Gable Hale. Oh goodness, here. Let me. Did I put it on here? Isn't this terrible? Can we go? I'm just kidding. No. It is. I can pull it up.
Take your time.
Vote BrittanyJP3.com.
So repeat.
Vote BrittanyJP3.com.
Right. Got it. Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for coming out.